every parent wants that type of child. And she puts it in motion and action to do so. So as we get ready to cross the street, it's in the 25 mile per hour zone. This car flies by. It's going about 50, 60 miles per hour. And I'm looking at the car, and I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And as I'm looking at this car, I'm not paying attention to what's behind me. And it's my family, and it's another family walking in the street. And as this other car comes, it's chasing the other car. And I don't know if they didn't see us, or if they were just being reckless, but the cars came directly at us. A lot of us moved out of the way, so I thought we all made it, but I heard a loud bang. And when I hear this bang, the first thing I do is I look to the right and I see my wife, I see my son. I'm pushing my other baby in the stroller, and I look to my left and I don't see my daughter. When I look to the left and I look across the street, the car that had just stopped by us, it was probably stopped at the wall right there. And as the car is right there at the wall, I'm looking and I head over to the car and I see my daughter laying on the ground like this. So I check her pulse, there's no pulse. I check her heartbeat, there's no heartbeat. There's nothing. I'm checking to see if her head is bleeding, there's no head. So there's trauma, but I didn't know what was going on. When I get to her, I position her body and she's not breathing. So the first thing I do is I take training goes into play and I go in doing CPR. So I immediately administer CPR. I do 5 compressions. I do the whole thing. It's 30 compressions. I do 2 breaths. Nothing happens. I do another 30 compressions. I do another 2 breaths. Nothing happens. Keep in mind, there's a whole crowd behind me full of people because there's an event right across the street. I do another 30 compressions. I do another 2 breaths and nothing happens. And before I give up, I pray. God, you can't take away my baby. Just put the energy into me. Just do it one more time. There was somebody who was behind me. They said, hey, continue to do everything you're doing and you're doing right. Just stay consistent. I do another 30 compressions. I take 2 breaths, and my daughter says, and she wakes up. And as she wakes up, everything in my life went blank. Everything was silent. I was so focused on her, and now I can hear her breaths, and I can feel her heartbeat. Now her heartbeat is beating 1,000 miles an hour. You can just feel it through her chest. And all I'm listening for is the silence. I'm like, God, just please get to my baby so that we can save my baby. Like, if you can just get here, if I can just keep her close here till the ambulance get here, someone can help. And I just want to help to come. And as I'm patient, I'm sitting there and I'm waiting. The paramedics, they finally get there. They take my baby to the hospital. The doctor said she had a 10% chance of living. At that moment, at that time, my whole life completely changed. As a father, you can only imagine how guilty I felt because I was right there when my daughter got hurt. Granted, I was able to save her life by giving her CPR, but all that guilt, all that pain, I felt it all on myself. What did you feel going through that?
Well, even for me, so even with me witnessing it, as he mentioned, he just saw that Brazil wasn't there. I actually saw her be hit and actually fly 100 feet into the air. So when we got to the hospital, I was the one, he stayed with the children. I went to the hospital with them in the ambulance, and they did. They immediately told us that we don't think she's going to make it. And as he mentioned, we continuously started to pray. Now this is where resiliency comes in, because even though I am what is going on in this world right now, I can't think about that. I have to think about, is he okay? Is my other kid okay? Is she going to be okay? Who do I need to contact? So I immediately, instead of sitting here crying and putting myself in this woe is me type of mentality, I immediately started calling people and trying to let them know what was going on. You guys need to either come here to the hospital right now, and we need to figure out what we're going to do. And 3 other people were hit that night as well. So we were sitting in the waiting room with other people that were actually, their people did not make it. Brazil was the only one that made it, that was hit by a car that night. And so we were watching other families hear this horrible news. We were kind of waiting to hear that news as well. And I'm grateful to tell you, after a 2-month coma, 9 surgeries, Brazil is now 16 years old, and she is doing very well with us. she has been our resiliency. And the thing is that they never caught the driver that hit her to this day, and that was almost 10 years ago on Halloween. So what we did during that time was we had to find strength. And the great thing about it is that we had support of the community to be able to help us find this strength. And mind you, this was way before we decided to do anything with business. This tragedy actually turned us into entrepreneurs and business owners because we saw so much support in the community, because we saw so many people that just wanted to be there and for us and help us actually find the driver. We decided we have to figure out a way to be able to give back in the same sense. So we decided to turn our pain into purpose. And we wanted to be able to help on a bigger scale. We wanted to not just throw some products together that we weren't really invested in and just sell them. No, we wanted to be able to give value and bring value to every single business owner, no matter if they're small, medium, or a Fortune 500 company. Now, that's where our resiliency actually turned from our professional life to our personal life into our professional lives. And that is key of what we want to be able to show you. The reason why we're telling you this is because we want you to be able to see as well that no matter what tragedy or situations that you have had in the past, big or small, you can be able to be resilient through that, and you can be able to soar. And this is one of the things that we can be able to do is educate everyone on no matter what you're doing, don't stop, keep going.
Yeah, I say leverage everything, monetize everything. We all have a story. And we can't reach the world, but it's somebody specifically in the world who needs to hear our story. You know, our mess really does create a foundation of our superpower. It's your story, how you were able to get through, how you were able to make it through. And sometimes it just starts with a positive mindset. So we're just going to give you some characteristics, some general characteristics that when we come and we talk about being resilient, these are the things that you must have. And you don't need to have all of them. You can just have a combination of 2 or 3 or 4. But the main thing is making sure that you can get through that first step. So the first thing you want to have is the right mindset. Right? Your mindset has to be right. You can't go through a situation and look at yourself as a victim. You can't go into a situation with the woe is me attitude. And even if you do, you got to check yourself. You got to check yourself immediately. Because you must see that there is a brighter side at the end of the tunnel. And you must believe that you are going to achieve that and get there. I say that you can monetize any story and motivate and inspire anybody by whatever it is that you've been through. You just got to figure out who your audience is. And a lot of times, if you tell your story, they'll find you. So it's always mindset, right? We cannot change certain things that we can't change. Another thing is the mindset must be that we're going to go through problems, right? Even as entrepreneurs, there's going to be issues. You're going to have your good months, you're going to have your bad months. You might have a good year. You might have a whole pandemic that completely shuts you down. And you got to figure out how you're going to persevere and how you're going to be resilient.
Now, I have a question by raising hands. How many people feel like they have the right mindset for their business right now? Okay, good, good. How many feel confident in presenting their why? Good, good. So then that's where it goes into, for those that do not, adaptability is key for shifting your mindsets. If you do not have that full-on, let's say, that complete confidence in exactly what you're doing and how you're being able to move, knowing the product, doing your case studies on your products. How many people have products in the building? How many have products, actual physical products? Okay, have you done any case studies on your stuff, reviews and good. And those who have service-based businesses, how are your reviews looking? Good reviews? Good, well, a good amount of reviews? Perfect. Okay, so that is great mindset right there. Knowing that you have to continue your education and continue looking into what the latest trends are and making sure that you adapt to anything that's going on with what your customers want. So knowing your niche, knowing your product, and knowing what's coming up and what you're to expect. So adaptability is going to be the main thing for your resiliency within your business.
You know, when you come from the bottom, you learn to appreciate everything. You just know the value of everything. The value of a carton of milk. The value of a gallon of gas. Right? When you got to pay attention, you got to count the money, count the change. A lot of the times you learn the value of certain things. And that goes into our resiliency. And as we talk about being resilient, we have to understand that bad things are going to happen and that we have to persevere. Anybody here a solopreneur? You by yourself? Everybody here has a team? You by yourself? By yourself? Right there, a solopreneur. Everybody else has a business owner, you have a team? Right?
That's good. That's great.
By yourself? So for the solopreneurs, when you're down, who lifts you up? Who motivates you? When you're sick, who does the work? Right? Who's going to be there for you for that? If you only have yourself, then it's going to take that internal strength for you to motivate and inspire yourself. When you expect that things are going to be bad at some time, you never know it as a business owner. It might be competition. Anybody ever seen Good Burger? You ever seen that movie? Welcome to Good Burger, home with Good Burger. Right? They were Good Burger, and then Mondo Burger opened up right across the street. Had all the nicest technology, had the biggest burgers, but yet and still, no matter what, because Good Burger wanted to serve their customer, and they cared about their customer and their experiences, and they cared about their product, they stayed in business. And the same thing goes for us. As long as you're true to yourself, as long as you never give up on yourself, you'll always persevere. The only person who loses is the person who quits. And that's serious. Even in athletics, you can start from the first quarter to the fourth quarter. Everybody got energy in the beginning. Towards the end, you start getting tired. Who's going to give up and who's going to quit? As long as you are persistent, you'll always be successful.
I partnered with the Urban Chamber, the Blackstone Launchpad, with Senator Gina Neal. We were successful through the legislative process that we are now a part of the Nevada Grow Program, and that means we have funding coming into our chamber, so we get to work with the big boys, I would say, and say I think we're a small chamber that is 5 years, and I want to thank our Madam President who was instrumental in allowing me to go to the legislator to talk on behalf of the African Chamber. I appreciate you, and I appreciate the opportunity you give me to do that on a daily basis. So you will be seeing more of the African Chamber more and more. And Brandon and Tiffany touched on a lot of things as well. There are fundings out there. There are millions and millions of dollars from minority certified owned businesses. But we have to be ready. I can personally say my business has benefited in millions and millions of dollars of opportunity. And that's because I work to make sure my business stay ready. And as part of the African Chamber, my job is to make sure that our members are ready so we can participate in funding opportunities, because there's a lot of monies out there from the state, federal, city, and in all the municipalities level. So we need to be engaging in that. And with that said, I have in our audience Hector, well, my friend Hector, from U.S. Commercial Service. And as a business, when we think about expanding globally, we need to know what are the resources available for us to be able to do that. And Hector is a part of U.S. Commercial Service, Department of Commerce.
All right, good morning. Hector Rodriguez with the U.S. Department of Commerce. I did have a PowerPoint, but it's okay. That way you can see a visual. But I'm with the federal government. I'm based here in Las Vegas. I've been here 8 years. I started in HQ in Washington, D.C., where my wife and I, we were there for 10 years. So we had a home over there, but we knew that we didn't want to live there, to forever, because our family's on the West Coast. We moved closer to California, and we landed in Vegas. We didn't know we were going to land in Vegas, but it was a great gift, and we're here. So 8 years here in Vegas, and my job, in a nutshell, is to support companies in Las Vegas who manufacture, who provide a service, and provide a solution that's 51% U.S. content. So the product does have to be made in the USA or sourced and created in the USA, 51% U.S. content. That's really the only caveat that we have as a federal entity, and we don't do importing, we do exporting. I know that trade goes both ways, but our focus is for economic recovery of the U.S. states, more you as a company hiring more people, and obviously money in your pocket. That's our goal as a federal entity. And there's a me in every state in the U.S. And as an example, in Nevada, we have myself, the director, and we're just recently hiring a third person finding that is starting on Monday. And she will be doing rural outreach. So she'll go to Mesquite, she'll go to Pahrump, and other areas that is just further away, that takes away time from the immediate southern Nevada. And of course, California has 7 offices. So again, every state in the U.S., there's a me that's providing support to the local backyard. So we're mandated by Congress to provide the support. Companies, our bread and butter is small and medium-sized companies. If we have a newsletter, just as an example, here in Las Vegas, Southern Nevada, I should say, and the companies that we support and provide service and they're successful, we highlight them as an exporter of the month. So if you're a company that wants to be highlighted within Southern Nevada and Northern Nevada, then we can write up a little article for you. And it's just a little plug because we know that sometimes companies, or not sometimes, always, you find each other here locally too. Because even though I'm interested in your product going international, you're also selling product domestically and providing services domestically. So again, product, solution, and a service.
And they created a software, but some of the people one of the developers are out of the country. Will that count?
That's fine.
Is that okay? But the software company is here?
Yeah, again, it's a global world that.
So to piggyback on that question, that 51% in the embassies overseas. So if the American company is in partnership with a company, say, in Africa, how would that play out in terms of that 51% fee-based opportunity within the embassy?
Each, merger or partnership, really the structuring, like the Department of Commerce, we don't have the 51% US content police, right? We don't. It's me. It's a conversation that we're going to have, and we're going to figure it out before we start getting into.
Please come on down, sir. We appreciate you here. So he's our official DJ for our festivities this weekend, international celebrity DJ Ike, and he has been promoting the culture through Europe for the past couple of years. He's a veteran. He's here in the United States to continue his work with the music and the culture. And on behalf of the City of Las Vegas, we would like to present you with this certificate. And the certificate says, for your contribution and work through the years of bringing awareness to the culture of African music. So this is yours. You'll be talking soon. And then from our Congresswoman, Susie Lee, she also presented you, our congressional delegation, with a certificate as well. So say something.
A DJ that don't talk?
And this is on Facebook Live, so just so you know, it's being shown. I'll hold this for you.
I'm speechless. I'm speechless. You really put me on the spot. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Charles Society. I'm glad they did you acting call me the most wanted. I've been in the entertainment industry for the past more than 25 years. I've been promoting African culture back in Europe. I started from Lagos, Nigeria, Africa. And I also happen to be the president of the Afrobeat DJs in Europe. That's the ADJS. And it's a pleasure coming over here to United States, Las Vegas, the city that never sleeps.
Entertainment capital of the world.
Entertainment capital of the United States. And it's a pleasure that I've been given this award. I also happen to be the official DJ of the TNT Morning Scene Afrobeats here in Nevada State. From the bottom of my heart, I say thank you. I appreciate it. And I want everybody to come over to the Afrikfest tonight and tomorrow and see what I got for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
States. We have delegates that have traveled from the continent of Africa that are here, that are looking to invest in businesses here. So if you are in the room, you're on the right place. If you are on Facebook watching us live or wherever the social feed is and you're watching us, you're at the right place. If you have questions on the internet, put it in the comments and our technical team will get the questions to us and we'll get it answered. So I'll turn it over to Mara and he will be the moderator for this panel. So I'd like to call to the stage Dr. Simon Adozi, Dr. Simon, Honorable Chikelu Arenzi, and Dr. Henry. Thank you.
Europe and then here in the United States. But what brought me really in here, I always say, is all about this culture. And when I say culture, it's African culture, and it's also my way of building the bridge of togetherness between Americans in general and the Africans, but more specifically, African Americans. I came as a professional tour guide at the time in Senegal and the Gambia, again specialized for African Americans. And seeing that time, the numbers of African Americans that was going to Africa was just like, you can't even imagine. Sometimes when you say people don't realize it, but at the time, if you remember, it was Air Africa and Pan Air, and there was like straight flight from New York. And I remember you would come to the city of Dakar and see African Americans just landing to Dakar without knowing nobody. So that meant that there was no infrastructure was ready for them to even welcome groups. They just come and just touch down to say, I'm on the motherland. So I'm here in Las Vegas, owning a store called Africa Law Store that showcases the best of whatever Africa is in terms of, housing and clothing, accessories, and, jewelry, all you name. We're trying to really brand every single pieces that Africa has. So that's why we call it Africa Law. And even being from Senegal, we represent all things that can come from part of Africa. And I have another store in New Orleans that now I'm trying to extend it out of the franchise. But the most important thing I like to introduce myself is this aspect of a tour operator, tour guide, specialized for African Americans going to Africa. So which means, laying out the culture of Africa, which I always believe that is very, very important, especially when it comes to the African Americans. I wish we was having more Africans on the audience today because I always put my critics on them when it's come to laying out African culture into America. And at the same time, I will publicize the Ghanaians and the Nigerians and at Jamaica, because today in America, if you really talk about the African culture, to me, I think those three countries are the ones that represent it well. Even where sometimes when you see green, yellow, and red, people always think that, oh, Jamaica, and they don't know that it's all Africa first. But Bob Marley was able to, put the platform right here in the United States for them to think that way. And when I talk about Nigeria, of course, Daniel, they're the most populated West Africans to be in here. Of course, your cultural influence will be so implemented here where many African Americans, they always think that Ifa or Yoruba, you think, and when you go to other part of Africa, they don't even know those ethnic, or they might not know the culture well. Just to say that I want to take this opportunity to say thank you again for doing it. And also at the same time, like I said, my prison will always go to this African diaspora into America that been here, and what we really notice more is that they're here working and sending money home. So the integration of the culture to me is a lot, and there's still a lot of work that we have to do. Because they here and they family, and they need to identify themselves. And it's always hurt me from the very first point of being in the United States, hearing people say, oh, Africans don't like African Americans. It was something that was hurting me because we all know as young Africans growing in Africa, at one point for a lot of Africans, we even think that America is black because of the way America was promoted to the Africans. We're talking about entertainment, Carl Lewis, Michael Jordan here, Michael Jackson. Even in terms of movies. So that's what we see. And even wherever we travel around, when people say, oh, we love America, but you can see that that's the black culture America that they love. The guys coming out, shaggy, hats, behind, walking in that style of hip hop. So, yes, for many, when they come and not seeing they do, they're like, wait a minute, where are the people? Because we wasn't seeing it that way. Same thing how America promote Africa in a way where we sleep with lions and giraffes and all of that, because that's the promotion for it. So that propaganda, to me, going through TV or just books, being something that's been disconnecting us for a long time and explain really the fact that Africa is not like that, and Africa has a lot to offer. And I'm happy today that the business side is being taken care of, because now no one can talk in the map of the whole world without mentioning Africa. I'm very happy to see these new leaders merging all over Africa. And these new leaders, they've been to the same university that Obama or Donald Trump went. So we have a lot of Africans in the diaspora, they know better. So now the game, the trade, everything is changing. And now I just want to see the culture to be part of it in the big time. We all seen that we wake up in the morning and the whole world was conquered by Afrobeat. Nobody seen it coming. So to me, it's a good example to show that it's a type of weapon that no one can face. Culture is strong. Culture is a vital thing. The two, Ramon was talking earlier about how to have a mental health. I always say, going to Africa, fly and come back will change your whole positive mental. You're ready for, to grow the business because to what you see all day long. So just today that it's always been a point of mission for me, building the bridge. And the only way and best way I've seen it happen is the way we can lay out a platform where we come together as one. And I would say African and African Americans sit down on a platform where we can talk our issues, but also we can share because, when as an African living in America, there is nothing that Americans can teach you because you hear, you live it. But the most one who's learning is the African American through them because you talk and you don't know nothing about the culture. And for me to say that if we come to have this platform of home invitation, because that's where an African culture you can really see, you don't see it on the street, but even African invite you home, the whole, from the time you get to the door to you leave, it's all African. From the food we'll be eating, from the way you see us communicating, from the way we have the discipline of the house, it's the whole African culture. So taking this opportunity to invite just Africans to lend more their hands to African Americans so we can sit down and talk. I always retrace the history of they don't like us to say that most of the time if you look at it really closely, the really first African immigrant that came to America is not that long ago. If you remember, it was the late 1950s when during the time of the Black Panthers. And it was the time that when we had the Deep War program, that's when the first really Africans came as a student into America. That was more like intellectual immigration style. And if you remember, when they came through Ireland in New York, and that was the time when Black Panthers was getting big, and they was trying to be Africans, the Afros, the Dashikis, new leaders, but at the same time, there was a lot of damage because drug was implemented in the community where they was fighting and they was killing each other and doing stuff that was not really, good to see. And those first African generations, when they came through New York, and first they was very excited knowing that they're going to see their own people, and the other side was excited, but what we saw at that time was so shocked that we had to be like, wait a minute, we can't deal with this. At that time, we didn't know what they've been through, and they didn't know also our work why we was acting like that. And I think from that time, we never created a platform where we can sit and explain why those things happen. So it's never been, we don't like them, as you know, we love them, send them home. I take groups every time. I would say I'm the number one tour operators that take the amount of group in Senegal and the Gambia. And I think I'm number 6 for Ghana. So I have experience enough to see what I've seen through the interact of African Americans and the Africans being on the motherland. So the love is there for real. Now we have to just recreate what the story of the past or how we teach them what the relation of slavery was. That's the only thing we need. Just to say that if we was able to have that platform to sit down and talk, there will be one thing to fix. It will make the culture strong with them to help them identify themselves. Because we say in Africa, if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you go. So that identity is a must. And today, sharing this panel with these different actors into the culture is, to me, this is the big start, and this is where it's supposed to be everywhere in the United States for right now. And I think I'm gonna lay out the mic to the gentleman on my right. Love this outfit and all these, I always say, see, some can understand, but even as a Senegalese or otherwise African, we might not understand the whole concept of this. Just to show how Africa is big and how the culture is so immense and all these different things we have in there, but it's always about learning among us. So I'm gonna, let you introduce yourself, and I think we're gonna get back to this through questions and other people talk that we can have later. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. My name is Chike Lukes Areze. I was one time trade and investment chairman of the Delta State government in Bangkok, Nigeria. And currently I'm the African representative of the African Chamber of Commerce and Tourism. And today I'm part of the panel to discuss on why Africa and engaging the Africa investors. Thank you.
Hello, good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Obubi Henry. I'm a Nigerian. I'm here to speak on the topic of seeing trade with trade union with Africa. I'm a businessman, a transporter, a major distributor of cement in Nigeria, a transporter. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Simon Adozi. I'm a real estate developer right there in Lagos. I'm part of Nigerian Chamber of Commerce, and we just basically do business in Nigeria. So we're here to talk about why Africa, why now. So and I think we'll be showing you why Africa actually. What we see in the media is doing what is on the ground. So let's have this conversation. I'm excited.
Maybe you should give us a little aspect of Africa in general first, speak the potential that they have.
Okay. Let me start with today we view Africa as a developing nation. And when we talk about the West, we see it as a developed nation. And sometimes there's this notion way out down here that Africa is like a forest filled with lions, monkeys, and the rest of them. Yeah, they are lions, they are reserves. We have game reserves in Africa because Africa likes to preserve those wildlife. But I believe we are more watched the movie Wakanda. And I say that is a picture of what Africa really is. You see, behind the scene, the way the mentality we have about Africa is quite different from what it is. There are some places you go in Africa, you say, wow, am I in Dubai or am I in New York? So Africa is not what sometimes the notion we have about it. And Africa, there are lots of potentials, business potentials in Africa in terms of as a developing nation. Like compared to the Western world today that is already developed. There are lots of business opportunities right here in Africa. Likewise, there are lots of business opportunity right here in the United States. It's left for the individual to perceive or to see those business opportunities in order for him to tap into them. So, though this is an open panel where we all will be discussing, we must hold on to the mic for long. I will pass it to my friends so that it will be an interactive section where we share our ideas about doing business in Africa and why our brothers down here should think about coming back home in Africa to do business. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to begin with from the aspect of manufacturing in Africa. Africa, as we all know, we have vast mineral resources in Africa. Especially in Nigeria, we have over 20-something mineral resources. So we are here to tell you how best we can partner with you, how best you can come in, use the natural resources we have, manufacture, and export if you want. Then, first of all, I want to tell you something about Nigeria. Nigeria is a country that has a huge number of people. We have a population of over 238 million people in Nigeria, and that has created a large market for us. That is why a lot of people come to Nigeria right now to invest. Then on the part of the resources we have, we just discovered recently that we have lithium ore. Apart from the regular oil that we all know, tin, gold, we just discovered recently that we have large deposit of lithium ore. And today, we are mining lithium ore. We have them in large quantities. Our Chinese brothers are there exporting it. So if we can get members of the chambers to come, bring down companies that can come build industries that will manufacture, that will convert this lithium ore to batteries, then I think it's a good business for us as chambers here. Then we all know that our cars are now moving from petroleum to battery cars. So this lithium ore is a good advantage to us. Then apart from the lithium ore, we have a lot of resources still lying low. We have tin, which can equally be used for manufacturing. Then apart from that, we still have resources where we can come in, do a lot of recycling and export. Because of the huge market and the population we have in our country, you can come in, do recycling, export outside. Then I want to talk on the aspect where I am in, the cement itself. I am a major distributor of cement. That is my field. So Nigeria has large deposit of limestones. So currently now because of our population, we are currently in great shortage of cement. And the price of cement keeps soaring high, high, high. So we need people to come and partner with us, establish an industry, the cement industry in Nigeria. With our limestone, I don't think we just need to import very little resources like clean. We can import clean. Then with our limestone, we mix all together and produce bagged cement. And as of today, we have only, with our large population, we have only three companies producing cement in Nigeria. And that is why today, currently now, the price of bagged cement today is over 5,000 naira. So while I know the production cost is not supposed to exceed 2003, 2005. So if we have people to come in, it will help. Then another aspect I want to talk about again is the ores, the steel. We have huge deposit of steel, which can be used to produce iron rod. When I came down here, I noticed they are doing wooden construction. So in my country, we use a lot of steel, iron rods from foundation to decking, and we have a lot of high-rise building there. So it's a very good opportunity for us to come in with the chambers to assist anybody. We have very few companies producing iron rods there in Nigeria. So with the chambers, we can partner with you, we can assist you, put things together, and you start producing iron rod. So these are basically where I want to speak on now. Thank you.
Anybody have a contract with Ghana government, regardless of whether you are Chinese, anybody, 80% of the employees has to be Ghanaians. You can employ 20% of your people to come down and do projects, but 80% of the employees has to be employed in Ghana. So,
okay, thank you. And even I think I'm not up to say that even in terms of the way you're going to create your business, you can just come that way. But again, there's always some other little things you see, corruption here and there. But let's see it as, the general aspect of what the president of the Chinese are doing for the African continent.
Well, I have a two-part question, one for her and another one. I heard the Chinese are actually taking over like policemen and be in those positions whenever they put money into a certain country. They actually are taking, you see them on the streets as policemen and different stuff like that. And also, are you guys using crypto, and how do you feel that crypto is doing for the country and Bitcoin? Well, are you guys using that kind of payment plan, or are you guys just using fiat?
I believe, but to me, this word you say is even the Chinese talking to Africa. Africa is a cash and carry. They literally just started even this process of banking and stuff. So again, talking about propaganda, that's what I said about propaganda, because these people, it's just talk that's been developing in there. African itself don't even believe yet about crypto or however. I know a little, I'm in the business, but I know a little about even these things still.
Yeah. So I have a very good friend. Yeah, he runs patricia.com. He's a Nigerian. He's 27 and he's a billionaire, just crypto trading. you know. And I have a couple of friends like that are, well, billionaires in dollars, just doing crypto. And they're young guys. And I know them. I meet with them almost on a daily. They live on the islands, Cayman Islands, you know, they are in Dubai. They are global citizens because if they do that kind of tech business, they don't have to be in one place, right? So those are Africans. We literally grew up together, went to school together. So I know them. I can touch them, yeah? So, and the one about how if they invest in a country, they take over the police, that's media, that's media propaganda. No country, especially in Africa, would give control of their security to outsider. It's not. Once you do that, you lose your sovereignty as a country. You are no longer independent, right? So it's a propaganda. Now,
We reached out to several African countries, members of our community, and asked for their participation. And we've not been able to get the participation within the African Chamber. So I am glad you brought that up, and I am going to reach out to you for you to join us and to help us to move this conversation forward, for us to say that Africa has, 54, 55 countries, and over 28 countries reside in Las Vegas. And so I think it's a great opportunity for businesses here to join us to move the conversation forward. So that's a very valid question, and I will be reaching out to you. Thank you.
I know that you were talking about funding and so forth and so on. There is a stock market in your country. Have you tried, or have any of your other businesses gone public to get stockholders to finance these things that you're speaking of? Or is there a lot of red tape behind, or corruption that prevents y'all from establishing yourselves in that capacity?
New York Stock Exchange. So, I will
No,
have,
Nigeria, in your country.
Yes.
Y'all have a stock exchange in your country.
Yes. So we have a stock exchange in our country, right? And like I said, we have weak institutions, right? Weak institutions in the sense that there's a mentality of I want to own it all, I want to do it all. An African man still feels that he should own every part of his business. So we're beginning to change the mentality of, listen, you don't have to own 100% of a business that is worth 10 million when you can own 10% of a business that is worth $1 billion. So we're having that conversation. So and there are a lot of African businesses that are quoted. I haven't quoted mine because it's not, it hasn't gotten to the age. Because I think you just have to have run your business for about upward of 5 years, right, for you to be able to access the stock market. But I've been able to go to FMDQ market. FMDQ is a fast moving, so it's a smaller part of, is a part of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, right? So those are for businesses that are not yet 5 years above, or you are at least on between 3 to 5 years. So that's where we are. So you move it from stage to stage, but you can. There's a lot of businesses. I know a lot of real estate businesses. I have friends that are quoted on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, and that's open for. They are open for stock for you to just invest in your stock and understand it.
Thank you. We have the last question here.
Good afternoon, everyone. As one of the panel members just stated that Africa have most of the things going on for us, like people are smart, a lot of people want to invest there, but that we have leadership problem, we have people problem, and I think that is one of the most important things that is hindering African progress. What does the panel think? Why are we having leadership problem, and how are we going to solve that? Not to be political.
And we're a 24-hour business. And what we do, we transport patients to and from medical appointments, inter-facility, or hospital discharges. Thank you. And by the way, thank you, African Chamber of Commerce, for having us. Thank you.
So do you want me to introduce myself?
Yes.
So, hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Priya Politero. I'm a physician by training, Chief Medical Officer for ADNAP Research. My story is I'm Indian originally, but now I'm a US citizen. I grew up in Dubai and then went to medical school in Hungary and then came to UCLA and joined Healthcare Partners Medical Group. So when I turned 18 in Dubai, my father gave me two choices. He said, either get married or become a physician. So I decided to become a physician to avoid marriage, but met my husband in the university. And then when I came to the US, I wanted to start a biotechnology company and develop new medications because I felt we needed cure for lots of diseases that hasn't found a cure yet. But when I joined Healthcare Partners, I became the National Medical Director for Population Health. And as I was taking care of patients, keeping them away from the hospital, especially elderly patients with multiple chronic conditions, I found that these patients were, had multiple chronic illnesses like diabetes, hypertension, atrial fibrillation, heart failure, etc. But they kept going to the hospital, and then it didn't help them because we couldn't maintain them well at home. So I decided to design clinical care pathways, and when those clinical care pathways were designed, I felt I found success, but I could not scale it because it was too expensive to keep hiring people. So I thought of technology and started working with major technology companies and realized that the technology companies were very sophisticated, overbuilt. It wasn't really patient-friendly nor physician-friendly. I also became a health economist, and I found that US healthcare, no matter how advanced we are, we're still number 32 in quality and number 1 in expense. So I decided that something needs to change here. So I started talking with physicians, different healthcare organizations. I'm also a certified physician investigator and started doing a lot of studies to see what works, what's not working, what's the real problem. And in the end, when I saw these patients are elderly and they're keeping on going to the hospital, not really getting better, and the search to keep them at home, in the comfort of their home, I started doing a lot of those technology development myself with some technology tools. And that's when I decided to leave the organization that I was working for, which is a very large organization today, Optum. I decided to leave it after 20 years and start my own technology company with services. But the most important thing that I want to share today is that in doing that, I realized I'm able to reduce hospitalization by 60% and ER visits by 40% and reduce the cost, as there is a lot of wastage, a lot of spending. I could reduce that by giving the patients Bluetooth-enabled devices, and they take their readings at home, and we have a dashboard, and we look at their vitals. If it's out of range, we reach out to them, and we make changes in the medication, we meaning the healthcare professionals. We also have health coaches, dietitians. We have lots of healthcare personnel who keeps an eye on these patients. And patients are very engaged when they do work with us. And the other thing that I wanted to say is just taking care of their hypertension or heart failure isn't enough, because a lot of these patients, they have social determinant health factors, issues like food insecurity, no transportation, no caregivers. And we can keep telling them, eat this or eat that. they don't have food to eat. So then how do we make a difference? So we started working with communities as well as some healthcare organizations like here in Nevada. We work with Silver Summit, we work with Intermountain, a lot of Medicaid patients as well as Medicare Advantage patients. And we are trying to change a lot of their concerns with food insecurity, take care of their health. And I have my teammates here as well who are working hard in taking care of these patients and wanted to partner with the African community, the Afrikfest, to really give a message to see how we can partner with you and take care of these patients better. Thank you.
So another opportunity for me, pretty quickly. So I want to just ask you the one question about what do you see as the future? How do you see healthcare evolving? And what role do you want to play in that?
So who agrees? Who agrees that we live in very volatile and disruptive times? Right? And how many of us are holding our breath, hoping for the storm to pass and hoping that things will go back to normal? Well, it's not happening, right? So one thing that we observe not only in the healthcare, but pretty much in any industry that we are encountering nowadays has to do with change, and change is happening and with very great speed, is accelerating exponentially. So when we are looking at technology and how technology is influencing or affecting healthcare, it's really important to recognize what our physician colleague just described, and that is just one awesome example of how technology is helping the healthcare industry. Telemedicine is another extension of that, or rather, the devices that they design are or could be an extension of the telemedicine. So the expansion of healthcare in home and being able to stay at home and care for the patients at home is applicable to many areas of the healthcare. It is applicable to the pre-hospital. I used to be the leader for the ground ambulance companies during COVID, and a lot of people did not want to go to the hospital. So there are programs such as, it's called ET3, where in the past it used to be the patients would be taken directly to ER, whether they were sick enough to deserve to be in an emergency room or not. With a program such as ET3, which is emergency triage, transport, and treatment, those patients are able to be treated in their own homes. So they may call 911, but when the 911 team arrives, it's not about packaging the patient and taking the patient to the closest healthcare or to the closest ER. It's about understanding what the challenge is. It's about seeing if there's other options than transporting that patient to the ER that we could engage with at the patient's home. So it may be engaging into a phone call with the physician. It may be applying a Band-Aid. It may be sometimes people call 911 because they need their prescriptions renewed. So it may be a phone call to the pharmacy. All of that participates into reducing the amount of number of people going to the ER and allowing the ER to be a place for the patients that are truly experiencing emergencies, medical emergencies. Another example is of another challenge, rather, of today's healthcare is the gap between the cost and the reimbursement. So when we are looking at how much the cost of operation has grown during the last couple of years and how reimbursement basically did not move the needle, or if it did, it went in the wrong direction. So the question is, how do we collaborate and how do we co-create solutions in a world where costs are continuing to grow, but the reimbursement and therefore the payment for the services that we provide is not there. Of course, it's easy to say, we'll just have the Congress increase Medicaid, Medicare rates, but to actually make that happen, it will take forever. And small businesses don't have the time to wait So that goes along with the readiness, which is the concept that I've heard all day here today. Are you ready to embrace the challenges? Are you ready and do you have an open mind so you can actually step away from the situation and change the way we do things? I know nobody wants change. We all want change, but we don't want to change ourselves. So being able to think outside of the box, and I think probably I'm safe to say that most people in this room are immigrants. Who's not an immigrant here? As an immigrant, are we afraid of changes? Are we afraid of encountering the unknown? We're not, right? And how many of us were told, you can't do that? So I know, I learned, and I know, this is my brother, by the way. And don't let him tell you that I'm his sister. It's in Toronto. But anyway, we are not afraid to make changes. We are not afraid to figure out, if this doesn't work, how will I change this? How will I adjust? So actually I make this work, because we are not going to give up. So if I were to leave with one message, it would be, and not only embrace changes because they're here and they are going to stay, they're not going anywhere. Not only embrace changes, but figure out how to use those changes to your advantage. And if you were, some of us, I know I have, while learning to speak English and while learning to go to college without very minimal English abilities, I learned through associations. So when I think of embracing change, I'm thinking of a surfer, right? And I'm not a surfer. But if as a surfer, the waves keep coming at you. They don't stop just because you're not ready to jump on land. And the waves are never the same. All the waves are different. And as a surfer, you look in the horizon and try to find to see what's coming your way. And you try to understand that wave and prepare yourself to jump on the board and ride it. And when you decide that this is your wave, you decide you're going to go with very decisive actions on trying to paddle and get on the board. And when you think that you paddle enough and you're tired, you take 6 more strokes. And then you commit to it and you ride the wave. What I'm trying to say is just like a surfer, sometimes we get on top of the waves and sometimes we don't. And the surfer doesn't get upset. They know that they don't get to ride 100% of the waves. They get to ride most of the waves that they choose to ride. They also know that they don't get to be on top of the wave if they do it with indifference. It doesn't just happen. It takes intention, it takes hard work, and it takes designing your approach in such a way where you get to be successful. Thank you.
What I would say is in healthcare, like any other industry and like any other business, we have to follow the same rules. And what that says is you have to be and have the capability of adapting. So what we need, from my perspective, for the healthcare industry, is to find ways of making the healthcare affordable. Because on the end of the day, it was a very, and still is, a very challenging idea for me, living in the United States, being the greatest country in the world, and seeing so many people afraid of using the resources just because they can't afford it. So if you ask me what I would like to see changing in healthcare is to find the solutions and the opportunities to make the healthcare more affordable. Thank you.
Kind of brighten the future just a little bit. Would you be interested in talking a little bit more about what it means for your organization to actually be taking social determinants into consideration as you provide healthcare?
Yes, so I don't want to say the future looks bleak because I always want to be hopeful. So what I do want to bring to our attention is that more than 20% of our GDP is spent on healthcare. And if we go that route, that's not going to be good for us. So what I really think is healthcare can be redesigned in the US. Because preventive care is given no attention. There's no money in preventive care. So why would a doctor or a nurse or anybody spend time in thinking about preventive stuff when there's no reimbursement codes on preventive stuff? It's being talked about, it's being developed, but we're still far away from that. But I think reimbursement needs to be tied to outcomes. So at ADNAB Research, the whole goal is, as they started taking care of patients in the comfort of their home, they also realized that these patients need additional help. They're not just patients, they're human beings to begin with. And they need additional help. They need those, how can they get food in time? Today I can tell you there are social workers and food banks. A lot of food is going to waste. So the state wants that to be done. But guess what? Is the food reaching the patient that is reaching out to us through our monitoring and saying, hey, I'm hungry. How can I take my medication? Because I can't take my medication on an empty stomach. So then we said, no matter how much, as doctors, we take care of the patient's vitals, blood pressure, blood sugar, all these things, we also need to make sure of their community is able to provide them food, is able to give them a caregiver, or their insurance is able to do that. So what I see with my experience, more and more these companies pop up. But are we all working together to solve the problem, or are we competing with each other? Most of the time we're competing with each other, and that's not going to help us. So I think, from what I heard this morning, it's really educational. Thanks to some of my colleagues like Kate and Joe and, some others in your community that invited me here. I'm so happy to come because majority of our operations is in Las Vegas. And we are serving a large number of patients in Clark County. How can we collaborate with you guys? Kate has many ideas of how we can collaborate. And we change this. We don't have to keep complaining how it sucks. Healthcare sucks, or the reimbursement is not good. I think a community can make changes and show the rest of the community and rest of the states what have we done here to change that. Because these people, the so-called patients, health plans, when reimbursement comes for healthcare aspects, hospitals, doctors, including myself, we refer to them as patients, non-compliant. I don't want to call anybody non-compliant. Everybody wants to take care of their health. But what can they do? Do they spend money on their medication or some food to buy, or they can't even have a shower because they can't get a caregiver to come to their house to have a shower. Or when they need the food, the social worker talks to the care managers, and it took a week for a patient to get them food. It should be in real time, right? And the other thing I wanted to say is I had a chance to go to one of the patient's house 3 or 4 years ago, because I didn't believe that. I know about slum areas in India, but I didn't believe that in the US such a thing could exist. I went to Param and somebody's house that we were planning to put that patient on the remote patient monitoring system. We go there and we see that the patient is living in a very small confined space. He's paying $75 to a family of 5 kids, young kids. One kid was sitting on the floor and the dog and the kid was licking on the bread. There were cockroaches everywhere. They didn't have enough food. That patient was going 7 times in 6 months to the hospital. Each time the patient would go and then come back. And same thing, because can't address the social determinant issues. We took care of that patient, and today, that patient, we provided the caregiver access. We made sure he's getting his food. We made sure his needs are met. And then we took care of his disease state as well simultaneously. Today, the patient hasn't gone into the hospital. It's been 6 months, not even once. And that's success. And that didn't take just ADNAB research. We had our partners. We collaborated. So what I would urge is if you're in healthcare, it's not looking good. And if we don't collaborate as partners, our legacy is here. I'm a US citizen now. I had to give up my Indian nationality. My generation is here. If I don't make any change, I will leave this world one day saying, nobody did anything. But what did I do? That's what I'm teaching my kids. That's what ADNAB is about. That's what, when I speak to Kate, that's her desire. And I know many of you here, we discuss business. We need to come together. There are government grants, but who knows about it? Joe told me, hey, you're doing good work. Let's go help out Clark County's worst zip codes. And then I looked at those zip codes and their health outcomes. It's not good. So we do need to come together. And that's the only way it's going to change. And then voices like ours, Joe, Kate, and all of you here, we go and we lobby and we tell them, look, if we can do that in Clark County, by this community, by ADNAB research partnership with you guys, and then show them the way. Because people who sit in ivory towers don't know the patient that's living, who doesn't have food, who doesn't have teeth so can't eat, and is drinking Coke, he has diabetes. So his blood sugar will drop and he'll go to the hospital. So you know what he does? He gives himself insulin. He's not educated about his disease state, and he keeps going to the hospital and drinking Coke to keep his sugar high. Then I asked him, do you know? And we were talking to him about his diet. He said, I just drink Coke every time I feel my sugar is going down because I don't have food here. Thank you.
I appreciate that. I think
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Adnan, for feeding our mind with so much. So, we all understand that healthcare is a $1 trillion business. Do you have challenges from big corporations with your research in terms of they think you're trying to spoil the markets, pharmaceutical companies as well as hospitals? Because if you're trying to keep patients from buying more prescriptions and going into the hospitals, that will bring down, it will bring a decline in their income. So do you think it's a challenge from maybe the bigger corporations on what you're doing right now?
No, I hope people can hear me.
No, wait.
Thank you. Sorry, Joe. So, I don't look at it like that because when you have a mission and vision, doesn't matter how another person sees it. Everybody has their own business and ideas and outcomes that they want to see. But I've just done my research. I keep doing research, and I've never really faced, to tell you the truth, a challenge as long as I can prove and there is evidence. So the answer is, if I can't, and I'm not taking it, I'm just talking anecdotes, then maybe there will be challenges, but my research publications are IRB approved, and it's a fact.
Hey Marshall, you can call me Jay, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I am looking forward to this weekend for sure. Just a little bit about me. I am a former healthcare COO. I work for Loyola University Medical Center, and I oversaw in Chicago. I oversaw all of the revenue for transplant surgeons, heart, liver, lung, and kidney, and the ER doctors there. And then I relocated from Chicago here to Las Vegas, and I was the Western Regional Director for one of the top 5 global pharmaceutical companies here in the United States. So pharmacy, healthcare, that's all my wonderful accomplishments by the grace of God. But my life was interrupted in March 2019. So I was on a journey. I had opened a linen company. I wanted to be the Black Martha Stewart. right? And so I had just moved my supply chain from China to Ghana and the Ivory Coast. My goal was to make sure that I could eventually open a distribution site where manufacturing of towels and linens could be made so that I could secure a contract to service hotels, boutique hotels, and hospitals. And I partnered with an individual in Ghana to be able to speak with him while he's building his hospital in Ghana about securing that contract so that I could supply the hospital with towels. And in the midst of all of that, the pandemic happened, and everybody knows what happened, right? So, but there's a whole other side of me, and that's the nonprofit side. My son, along with 9 other African American men or boys, were targeted in a hate crime at Arborview High School here in Las Vegas, Nevada, where they threatened to shoot and kill all of the black students at the high school, and that threat went out on Instagram. We went through a trial. Homeland Security was involved, the FBI, and it was a very traumatic situation. From there, myself and the co-founder of our organization, is called No Racism in Schools, if you want to Google it, we went on to turn pain into purpose. And myself and the co-founder, her name is Afrikfest, Cook, she's not here today, but we are responsible for the first anti-racism policy in the Clark County School District in the history of our state. Thank you. We're also responsible for legislative movement. We have what is called AB 371, which is the anti-discrimination bill, which is the first of its kind in our state as well. So we were able to actually pass law and policy, okay? And the only reason that was possible is because we developed relationships and partnerships with individuals who both look like us and don't. And so today I want to encourage everyone that's here to look into the needs of our community. In my case, I thought I had found the need with making towels, right? But that wasn't it. It was actually combating racism in education. And education goes not just from the daycare level, but all the way up to institutions of higher learning. And that it is not only just interpersonal, it's also systemic, right? So a lot of the things that we're talking about in today's forum has everything to do with systemic barriers that are put in place that challenge individuals who look like us, be it immigrant or not, from being able to succeed. And so I have dedicated the rest of my life, along with my team, to overcoming those barriers and tearing them down. When we find needs, we need to fill them. It's not just about making sure that we can make the money. The money is great. We're a grant-funded program, but I work for free doing this work all the way through the passing of legislation without one dime. I had to live off of what I made when I was in corporate America. So it's important to tie yourself to nonprofits. Tie yourself to any type of organization that meets a community need. And I just want to encourage you all, if you have any questions, find someone that you can partner with that knows, that can help build a path for you to get there. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, so what I'll do first, I'll have the panel introduce themselves briefly. You have 1 minute, short elevator speech, and so we can get it done, and then we can get into the interactive conversation.
My name is Favor Chikelu. I'm a serial entrepreneur and the president of the African Chamber of Commerce and Tourism.
My name is Princess Blessing. I'm a therapist for mental health and substance abuse. I'm also a board member and a small business owner.
Hi, I'm Tina Parks. I'm the owner of Connect Central. I have clients like Steve Hightower Petroleum, the #1 African American petroleum dealer. EV, I did national parks for Obama. We did the diversity program for the African Americans, and I have a nonprofit called Boss Ladies.
My name is Kate, last name Parker. I own JLK Home Care, JLK Health Centers, and all about behavior. I live in Las Vegas, come from Ghana, West Africa, and I'm a board member for Afrikfest in the African Chamber.
Okay, good. So I'll start with you, Tiva. Earlier in our conversation, you talked about you work in an industry where petroleum is a male-dominated industry. And I know you have been in this space for a while, and I've worked with you on the Obama campaign for the parks. That was a great campaign we did. Talk about the barriers you had to overcome to work with the number one African American petroleum producer in the United States. What barriers you had to overcome to be in that position?
I guess when people see you, they think you're just an assistant or you're just in the room to get coffee. So I think my client always says that I'm a person that you wouldn't think that knows what they know. So you would never know who I am because I've been an entrepreneur since 1993. So I've been in this game for a long time. I probably consulted over 100 companies and probably owned, probably half of them. So I've seen the ups and downs of companies. So I think whenever I give advice, I have to give it like 10 times. And then after about the 20th time, they're like, wow, she knows what she's doing. So it takes a lot to prove yourself in our world. A lot of work, 24 hours, not 9 to 5.
That is true, because as entrepreneurs, we don't have work hours. We have work time. So sometimes it's 16, 17 hours per day. Kate, you mentioned you're in the healthcare sector. And working in that space where you have to compete with a bigger organization, what do you do to stay grounded in that space?
The only thing you do is to be vulnerable and work with it in any space you go, because there's a lot of systematic bias when it comes to race and everything African, language barrier, and so many things. So you just have to have the confidence and the ability to be able to work and be vulnerable and be able to listen and then, work as a team or wherever you are to be able to get information, because they always don't. And then moreover, when you're a woman, and me too, sometimes people think I'm young. So when I enter a room with all these people, they always see you as a young girl, and a lot of times they try to ask your age too. And then when you tell them their age and they look at you and they say, are you sure? So it's like, there's so many factors when it comes to working with big people and, people that have, all this power.
That is so true. So, Madam President, you have been the CEO of multiple businesses over the past years and since I've known you. How do you balance all of that with family? You have a husband. No, I'm not married, y'all. So let me put it out there. So, how do you balance all of that?
To be honest, I try to make sure I have a great team. Initially, when I started, I wanted to do everything because it was so difficult to just entrust people to take care of business for you. And my dad used to tell us something growing up. He was always like, if you don't want to complain about anything, do it yourself. So I had that mentality of always wanting to do things myself. But at a point, I was really burning out. And I never knew how bad until when I got drained mentally. I was exhausted physically. And I'm like, you know what? No. I'm going to step back and watch. So I'm at the point right now where I'm still trying to find a balance. I've not found it yet because it's really hard. Just letting people to take care of your affairs for you, and they're not implementing it exactly the way you want it, but you feel kind of tired. Like if I talk now to say you kill yourself and you don't even know what's going to happen to it when you're gone. So
I've learned how to sit back, watch, and let people prove themselves. And so far, I must say it's working out, not 100%, but I'm learning to accept it because I still have little babies I want to raise and I want to be alive for them. You know, I've also come to realize that no matter how much we chase this money, good health is first. Health is wealth. If your health is not stable, you cannot be functional mentally to achieve any form of wealth. So you have to take good care of yourself, have that perfect work-life balance. We love to say it, but it's so difficult to achieve. You know, but I believe the more we talk about it, the more we try to work towards really achieving it. It's not going to happen overnight. Like I said, I'm still trying to find the balance. Okay?
That is so true because I know even in my situation, I still have a young daughter who's a teenager. And as a single parent, you find that you have to balance that work, you have to balance with her, and then you have to take care of you as well. So there comes the challenges, but it's good when you have a network of friends or colleagues that you can depend on. The word is depend on. That will be always there to support you. Princess Blessing, your question, my question for you will be different. And so for the audience, Princess Blessing is an actual princess. Her dad is a king. I met him in Nigeria. And she is an actual princess. What was it like, the change for you from being in Nigeria, a princess, and then coming to America, being a princess? How did you assimilate in the role of being ordinary?
Thank you very much. Being in Africa, we are trained to, as women first, to respect our men. The men are the leader, they are in charge. But being the firstborn of a family where I'm the only girl, you have to also know how to be confident and learn how to be in charge and show good example to your younger ones. But that does not mean that you have to talk over the men. So most times as a lady, you have to step back. But investing in a female child helps you to grow, which my father as a king built it and make sure we learned a lot. So coming into the United States, I have to assimilate first. First of all, you have to look into people and understand the culture and how things work. But in the community where you also look as a woman with, just like Kate said, language barrier, our accents and everything, you have to also now come and understand the culture. When you understand the culture, you have to show that you're confident and you know your onions and you know what you're doing. So education can never, investing in a girl child can never be a mistake, because when you learn, you continue learning and you relearn and understand how the culture works. Then you can speak in the society and you can also add to the value of the society. So it has helped me a lot, and I've understand and I've shown good example in the community where I am.
And yes, you have. She has shown really great example. So the panel discussion is the future is female. How do we disrupt what we're doing and to make sure that our male counterparts know that girls rule, women rule, we rule, right? How do we, okay, I see faces. Okay.
I have to take the mic because I know we have our Nigerian men here. In Nigeria, I know, I don't want to generalize in Africa. It's not just Africa, and honestly, it is a world thing, because in the Arab nation, the women don't really have that much say. In Europe, if you watch the periodic movies, you see it's the same thing. The women, they're just trained to prepare themselves, get married and have babies, and that's your role. So it's the same. I don't know about India.
Same thing.
Same thing. So you see, we all have the same problem. So now women are evolving into becoming more independent. It's not sitting so well with our men, especially back home in Nigeria. And I will say Nigeria because I am originally from Nigeria. That's why I can speak more about where I am from, you know. So
Kate can talk about the Ghanaian men. And the men, please let me talk before you come in. So now, we have an adage that says, when you train a man, you're training one person. But when you train one woman, you're training a whole nation. That is a fact. Men have this tendency, I'm sorry, men, but we respect you guys. We honor you guys. We see our men as our pillars. But you are the head. We are the neck. Understand, it's where the neck takes the head that it goes to.
I know Rabbi should make a comment.
No.
Please pardon me, I don't have much to say, but
I won't get
the work of the men is to support the women, not the women ruling over the men.
That that's why I said, let me finish. So, I know with Nigerian men, they just cannot take it. But listen, guys, that's why a lot of Nigerian women were moving to the US. So we can open our mouth and talk freely. We can talk freely. Our men may not like it, but you can't do nothing. Just accept it. We will never disrespect you. We are your support system. And men should be grateful that they have women who are turning into business women. When it's not all the time your business is going smoothly. If you have your wife at home, just tending to the kids and not supporting you financially, if you have challenges in your business, who is going to support you? If your wife, on the other hand, is making income and is financially stable, if there is any change or any shaking in your business, nobody will know why. The woman will push and step up and cover everything. And you just keep going. So encourage your women to be strong and powerful financially. Invest in your women. Invest in your daughters. Give them the best education. Who takes care of the parents when they are old? The girls. Who takes care of the family? The daughters. So why not invest more on your daughters? Invest in your wives. I'm not saying every woman is perfect. We are not the best, we know, but you can make us the bestest. It all depends on you. Invest in us. Invest in us. Give us all what we need, and you will never regret it, because we are that backbone, that support. You are our pillars, but we are the support of the pillar. Thank you.
I have a question here.
Yeah, there's an issue somewhere. It's good for the women to be independent, to be entrepreneurs, to be able to stand on their own. But once that happens, the majority of them becomes arrogant. They try to overstep their bounds. They try to take over. They try to be the boss. Why is it like that?
Question.
Fortunate, and I will attribute that to what? A personality trait in most women. This is not a general thing with a woman, with every woman rather. It is a personal thing. Some women lack self-esteem. Some women never imagine that they will become financially strong. And let us not also rule out the fact that maybe she was being subjected to some abusive mental torture or emotional trauma by the man because he was fending for her, So when she got the opportunity to be financially independent, she just wanted to give the man a little dose of his own medicine, and they don't like it, so they will always react. At the same time, I'm not trying to make any form of excuse for that kind of behavior, but I just want us to understand that every woman needs to understand her role. Be supportive, be motherly, encourage, build your husband. That's your role as a helpmeet.
Like, as a female, my dad died at 13. So I was the only one in my family that could take over. So I started my first company at 15 years old. So there was no man trying to help out or do anything. I had to take on the role. But I respect a man because I love my dad. So I look at a man as a leader, but then if they're not leading right, I gotta step in and do what I need to do. If not, it's not gonna get handled. And some guys have egos. And their egos tend to mess up a lot of deals. So whenever we have common sense and we look at it from the outside, we look at us differently. And you need to talk to us because we might change a deal that you're trying to do that you don't even see that you're doing wrong.
Yeah, I think just a comment. My name is Amaka. He said something, and I need to. So why is a woman's own issue becoming something everybody's talking about? That's one. Secondly, we need to understand something. When you're empowered, you find your voice. Whether man, whether it's the male or female. Once empowerment coming with this self-confidence, it boosts your morale, you can stand and talk to anybody. It happens on both ways. But there's this perception where we believe this woman needs to be subjective or needs to be like this. So subconsciously you have positioned the woman to a certain level, you expect her to speak or do things. And when she starts finding her voice, it becomes a problem. I've worked with a lot of women that have been abused, battered, and I will tell you one thing. It's not that women tend to be egoistic or arrogant, it's because they're beginning to speak up. They are finding their voice and it becomes a problem. And the same thing happens with a man. If a man gets so rich, you see them, the same thing, they talk with this attitude, but there's nothing wrong with it. So it's an issue of double standard. We need to understand. But if there's an understanding between a couple, why would a woman wants to make money and wants to be arrogant to the husband? You want to support the man. So please, let's understand this thing. It's on both sides. It's not just the woman. Anybody gets empowered, even the man gets rich. They talk to like that. But these are all about perception and where we're coming from. Thank you.
This is a common thing of every woman who wants to learn and study and educate themselves and be successful. I think the problem is not with the women. I think the men start having some insecurity. Yes. And it's okay, we accept it. So it's not like we're saying we are upset about that with you because we know our man has insecurity. And I think you mentioned it right. We're still the neck. So we say, okay, it doesn't matter. But one thing I hope in the whole wide world, they change the aspect that, women and men, when it comes to professional roles, business owners, education, I hope they don't look at us, we're human beings, whether you're a man or a woman. Arrogance is in both, hatred is in both, love is in both. So we are not looked at differently, at least not on that level. And the other thing my grandmother used to tell me, she's not anymore in this world, but before I got married, she said, because I was a doctor, and I said, I'm not going to be like you, I'm educated, so I'm not going to do this. She said, look, at the end of the day, you're going to be a mom, you're a wife, and your husband just he never grows up. That helped me.
Mr. Devin Chukelu, my question is to her, what do you think a man needs from a woman?
Love.
Okay.
And support.
Support.
And support.
No?
Respect.
No? Respect.
Okay.
But I think a man is not just respect. I think it's a man needs love, support, and respect from a woman. It's plain and simple. These are the three traits that I think a man needs from a woman. Because 99.9% of the time, if a man has a woman and the woman is not supportive to the man doesn't get successful. That is why they always say every successful man there is a woman that is strong behind that man. Because a lot of times, if women are not strong behind a man, a lot of times they're not successful.
To piggyback on what Kate just said, yes, men need respect, they need love, but from our continent, Africa, most men has taken it as a woman is a slave, which is not it. We have a president once that said that the place of a woman is in the kitchen, in the other room. But now we can see it, we are in this room. This is a good example that the future is female. We are moving forward with a woman is resilient, we can multitask, and we build the economy. And we stand on it, and we are here to support you and excel together.
Me, I have if anybody even knew I had a boyfriend, they would fire me. And I've heard these meetings like, oh, if our artist had a boyfriend, or if we're dating somebody, oh, let's let go of her because we can't invest in her. So you guys are going to do that for men, so that's why I don't have a family. Because when I was doing business, men would look at me like, okay, let me make sure that she doesn't date, make sure there's no baby, so you make sure your personal life is not nowhere around. And when you start a company, I had to have a man because they didn't take me serious. As a 13-year-old of 1994, 1995, 1998, 1997, all those years before Instagram and all this stuff, I had, my business partner is a man. Now I own my company 100%, but back then, they would look at me like, oh, she's cute. So it's a point where you guys are more respecting us now, and I love it. So thanks.
Women right now, because even men in leadership are understanding the importance and the value of the woman to every leadership position in an organization. While we know how to put the structure, we know how to put the balance, we are vulnerable, we are patient, we are kind, we tolerate, we endure.
We're resilient.
Thank you. And these are some of the qualities that we really don't find in our men, because they think one way, execute, fire, hire, destroy. That's it. But for women, we try to weigh, okay, we consider this, we consider that. And we decide, why don't we do it this way? Why we think about every point. We think about every aspect of every single detail. Why? So we can come and so we can get a better result. And it is working. Look at our doctor here coming up with something that will reduce the cost of hospitalization. These men in the room are what you call the alpha males, right? They don't believe a woman. Okay, yeah. Mara is on outside. But the fact remains that our Nigerian men, which is so typical, not just the Nigerian men, what you get in a Nigerian man is what you get in an Arab man. Middle Eastern men, they all have similar traits because they believe their main function is to provide for you. So when they provide for you, you have to do whatever they ask you to do. But thank God for westernization, thank God for technology, thank God for education, thank God for social media. A lot of women are understanding that it's time they speak up. It's time people hear your voice. And they are doing it using the social media. I see women in their kitchen, they say that they are showing people how to cook. And they are getting likes and making money just from doing that. Thereby doing what? Empowering themselves. So all we need from our men is to understand that we're not trying to usurp your position in any way. We respect you guys, but allow us to breathe.
Thank you. And with that, I want to say thank you, each and every one of you that took the time out to be with us today here in person and also on social media. We've been getting a lot of views, and that's very encouraging. I want to thank the panel of ladies, We Run the World, for having this stimulating discussion. And this discussion will continue because I will. And one of the things I will say though, as a woman, when you're successful and you're single, it's a challenge. I'm telling y'all, it's true. It's true. So that's a story for another day. But I'm available. So I want to say thank you all for supporting the African Chamber of Commerce and Afrikfest during this week of Afrikfest. This is our 5th year. We cannot say thank you enough to AgNav Research for supporting us and sponsoring us today for our summit. We'll see them later at the park. They're gonna be doing interactive things in the park. So let's go out, support them, and let them know how thankful we are. We thank MGM Mirage and MGM Brand. They're our platinum sponsor this year. We thank College of Southern Nevada, Platinum Nevada. We have several sponsors. If you look at our banner, we have listed our sponsors there, and we want to say thank you so much for supporting us. And in closing, I want to say it is our hope that you join the chamber. Get with us. If you're here locally in town, join the chamber. If you're here globally, join the chamber, because we're a forward moving chamber and we're going places. And with that, I want to say thank you so much.